Aloha, Acting Chair and members of the board. I don't think I'll be as intense as the past speakers. I've really felt their passion and their drive. I'm going to cover just two subjects. One, I disagree that adequate fish for food is more important than climate change. I'm one of those who believes that climate change is a very serious issue and we need to deal with it as a planet. I wish to focus the entire issue on the power system, what they call a hybrid solar ocean thermal energy conversion power system, or persistent ocean power system. And I want to preface it a little bit. I know perhaps a dozen of the top OTEC experts in the country. I've met Robert Cohen, who was head of the US Department of Energy's Ocean Energy Program in the 70s. I met him at an international ocean energy conference. I know the person who headed the OTEC facility on the Big Island, the project manager. We sponsored Dr. John Harrison in a contested case hearing before this land board, and he had written his postgraduate paper on OTEC, and we had raised OTEC to this board here. We have sponsored OTEC expert witnesses in a contested case hearing before the Public Utilities Commission, independent energy experts, someone from Mackay Ocean Engineering, someone from OCES International. A few weeks ago, I had the chance to interview Dr. Ted Johnson, who is head of Lockheed Martin's OTEC program. They have spent $12 million on OTEC. I have testified on OTEC before the Public Utilities Commission, so I know a little bit about the subject. And frankly, I can't make heads or tails of the proposal by the applicant. In the EIS prep notice, it was mentioned that there was going to be a huge cold water intake pipe that would drop way down. In the draft EIS, that was not in there. So the draft had changed from the prep notice. Then the final changed from the draft. And they talk in very vague terms about what this power system will look like. But let me take just 1 point or 2 points, for example. Normally, you take deep cold water ocean and you take surface water ocean, and you're playing off against the temperature differential. And the maximum efficiency of an OTEC plant is the higher temperature minus the lower temperature divided by the higher temperature in Kelvin, which is like Celsius, but 0 is absolute 0. The water discharge is partway between the upper temperature and the lower temperature, and you can find a section of the ocean that it can be discharged into that matches that temperature. What they're proposing is the surface temperature and a heated temperature from a solar device, which would mean that the water temperature discharging will be higher than at any point in the ocean. That is not really discussed. In addition, there was discussion that they're going to put these submersibles down sufficiently far that it won't really affect the life that tends to be more on the surface of the water. But in studies done for OTEC facilities off the west coast of the Big Island in the 1980s, the maximum chlorophyll layer is below the top of their submersible. So you will have an interaction with the plant life in the ocean. And that's been known for 20 years, but there was no mention of it in their document. So, SATEC sounds interesting, theoretically possible, perhaps desirable, but how can you as a board, unless you know a lot more about OTEC than I do, How can you say what the environmental impacts will be, what the cultural impacts will be from something theoretical that has not been adequately described? Thank you.
I feel that it's unnecessary that we have somebody with this firepower, you know, while I'm talking.
It's just standard procedure, sir. Provided that we're willing to listen to it.
So why was he calling to come to this meeting? He wasn't here earlier.
That's all the time.
So why he has to be in this room? Can he step aside while I'm talking?
Sir, would you give your testimony?
No, I'm asking a question.
I'm not gonna ask him to leave.
Okay. That's just all I wanted to know. First of all, I'd like to say that I am the evidence. I am not the crime. The crime is being committed by the occupational forces of the United States of America. The crime that is being committed is one of oppression, is one of exploitation and subjugation of Kanaka Maoli of Kawaihae. Ever since the fake annexation of 1898, the status of our people has become worse and worse and worse. In the last 40 years, I've tried to exercise my rights as Kanaka Maoli, only to be faced with people like them with guns. With people like them that put me in prison because I'm exercising my rights. And the same thing is happening. It will continue to happen as long as you guys think you have the authority to say you guys own the land. The land belongs to the beneficiaries, and the beneficiaries are those with the kokua. The beneficiaries are those who are subjects of the Hawaiian Kingdom. So when we talk about Hawaiian, it's not a term of ethnicity. It's a term of those who support the Constitution of the Hawaiian Kingdom. There's no such thing as blood quantum. And if you will examine the records, subjects of the kingdom included Pakeis, Samoans, Tongans, and even a Kolea. So, it has been pointed out by our colleague that those lands belong to the beneficiaries. So what is to be done? We will continue to fight for our rights, which means eventually that some of us are going to prison again. Because if you make the decision that we cannot, there's a what they call protected zone, prevent us from exercising our traditional rights, there's going to be a problem, a big problem. And things that are happening today are getting worse and worse and worse. And our people are getting much more angry. And you can see why. Because the multinational corporations of the world exporting all the First Nations people, whether it be in Moku, whether it be in Aotearoa, or be in Samoa, Tonga, whatever. All I'm saying to you is that the original people of these islands have a right, and that's the right to survive. If any more attempts are made to cut us off that right, then things are going to get a little bit more nasty. Many of us had enough. Enough is enough. So now you can see why the people of the Taliban are fighting the United States of America, because they were there for one reason, to protect the multinational corporation.
Thank you.
Okay. So like, I repeat, Everyone know, mate.